NVIDIA, Intel, and AMD all announced new AI-focused chips to accelerate the AI hype, while at the same time, others start shouting about how the AI bubble is about to burst. Meanwhile, Facebook tries to reach out to Gen Z to get them to start using Facebook, while Instagram wants to stick unskippable ads in their feeds. We're going to talk about these and other technology news of the week in this episode of Today in Tech. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Today in Tech. I'm Keith Shaw. The guy behind the monitors, as always, is Chris. Hello, Chris.
Hey, how's it going?
Going well. And joining us for the next few weeks as guest co-host is Mike Elgin. He is a contributing columnist for Computer World and, in his words, a technology-obsessed journalist, author, blogger, podcaster, and digital nomad. Welcome to the show, Mike. You're like a rock star in these parts.
Thank you so much, Keith. Really appreciate it. And I'm just happy to finally be on the show. I've been a listener and viewer for a long, long time. And whenever I interject something, you can't hear me because I wasn't on the show. But now I finally can talk, which is really great.
I'm super excited. And there's a bunch of people here that are also super excited to have you on the show. So let's just jump right into it. It was a big week at the Computex show in Taiwan this week, where all three of the major chip makers, NVIDIA, Intel, and AMD, all announced new things. And the big news yesterday from the stock market side of things was that NVIDIA has now passed Apple in market cap as the second most valuable public U.S. company. Investors are continuing to bet on the chip maker behind the AI boom, and it is now the second most valuable public company behind Microsoft. NVIDIA also hit a $3 trillion market cap milestone on Wednesday after shares rose over 5%. At market close, NVIDIA had a market value of $3.019 trillion versus Apple's, which stood at $2.99 trillion. Microsoft is the most valuable publicly traded company with a market cap of $3.15 trillion as of Wednesdays. NVIDIA shares have risen more than 24% since the company first reported its first quarter earnings in May and has been on a tear ever since last year. So, all three of these companies announced products this week, and so, like, what are your thoughts on the all of these new AI chips? Is it just full steam ahead? Do you expect the other two companies, because again, Intel and AMD all announced new chips because that all have AI focused on them? What's your thoughts on this market?
Well, NVIDIA is dominating this market, and I think they'll continue to do so. If you look carefully at what AMD and Intel actually announced, essentially what they said was, it's almost as good as NVIDIA, but a lot cheaper. Mm-hmm. And that's not really the dominant position you need to take when you're coming after a company like NVIDIA. NVIDIA, a lot of people look at this valuation, $3 trillion market cap, which was inconceivable for any company just a few years ago, and think, wow, compared to Apple, they're a nothing burger compared to Apple. Apple is Apple,
right?
But if you think about the need for the valuation of a company is based on its potential upside for future growth. Where does Apple go from here for massive future growth? Sell more iPhones, sell more expensive iPhones. The path for Apple isn't really clear. For some period of time, people thought, well, they're going to have, they're going to take over the car market with the iCar, the Apple Car, whatever that was. They're going to do it with services like financial services, but there's not a clear path. And Apple Vision Pro doesn't look like the path to $1 trillion of growth either. The path for NVIDIA is very, very clear, and the upside is very, very high. So I think not only does NVIDIA sort of deserve their new market capitalization, I think they're actually a little undervalued if people understood what they're working on. Mm-hmm. And they may leave Apple in the dust for good. I mean, I think this is a company that is so well positioned for the next 10 years that I can't recall any company that's that well positioned. And I can go into the details about exactly what they're working on if you like me to. It's pretty fascinating.
Yeah. Go ahead. I guess I have another question after you do that. So yeah, what are you hearing that they're working on that impresses you?
I wrote a piece for Computer World last year, February, maybe a couple months ago, about the digital twin concept. The digital twin concept is essentially, for those unfamiliar, is that you model physical things in virtual space, essentially virtual reality. But you don't do it in a general way, you do it in a very specific way. So for example, if an airline like American Airlines, wanted to do a digital twin model, they would have a specific virtual airplane to match one-on-one with every airplane in their fleet with the specific characteristics, the weight, the parts, the chairs, every single aspect of that plane would exist in a kind of virtual reality, and sensors throughout the real planes would actually affect the virtual planes. You could test things, you could stress wings, you could do all these kinds of things, figure things out safely without actually involving a real airplane. When you develop a fix or a patch or an improvement, you then roll it out to the physical airplanes at lower cost and so on. And so you can do this with factories. You can do this with anything sort of physical. Well, NVIDIA has been on the forefront of the digital twin model. In fact, their own factories have a digital twin component. They have customers who are using this digital twin. But then generative AI came along, and now they're applying generative AI to the digital twin concept, where they create something that they call, that Jensen Huang said, the CEO said, is called physical AI. So this is an AI virtual reality where the laws of physics are applied, and essentially where the AI understands and reacts to inertia, gravity, all these kinds of things that exist in the real world. And it's in this virtual playground where robots and other robotic systems can be tested and can learn. So they can try things 10,000 times in a virtual factory without injuring any humans. And then when they find the 3 or 4 best ways to do something, then they just roll that software into the actual robot. And then the robot now has that knowledge. And this is a breathtaking system. Heavy manufacturing is a $50 trillion industry today. And so and the other thing that's really fascinating about NVIDIA is they're tackling this physical AI concept, and there's no competition. They will likely own this space.
They were doing a lot of this digital twin work, like you said, a couple of years ago, and this was when they created their Omniverse platform. And when I was covering the robotics space, a lot of that, and that was the manufacturing industry as well. And so that was the one area of the metaverse that people were all saying would succeed, versus the whatever image Mark Zuckerberg has with this whole, you're going to have a virtual reality Ready Player One kind of garbage. That was so what's interesting is that NVIDIA is still doing that, but now they've added this generative AI component. Plus they make these AI chips for all of these other companies that want to implement AI in whatever form that they have. And so they've got the chips that are going to be doing that. But now apparently
just to crap over. Just all over Mark Zuckerberg's vision. His vision is essentially a virtual reality place where you escape the real world. It's a form of escapism for the most part. And you do it all the time, and you live in this fantasy world where you escape reality. Whereas the digital twin idea uses a similar technology in part, but the whole purpose of that is to improve the real world, not escape from it, to make the real world safer, more profitable, more efficient, more economically beneficial to humans. And so even though they both seem like virtual reality of a kind, one is a kind of nihilistic escapism, and the other one is a way to accelerate improving the way things are manufactured, the way everything works.
And I want to get back to the Apple part of this story. Does it say something that Apple, they used to be in first place, and then Microsoft passed them, and now they're losing steam to NVIDIA? Like you said, NVIDIA's got that plan, probably the 5-year plan going forward, and Apple just seems to be stuck in the mud here. They've got WWDC coming up later today. This will be out on Monday, and they've got their big developer thing, and all of the rumors are suggesting that they're going to have a whole bunch of AI announcements to kind of catch up. And you know how Apple is, they'll say it's the greatest use of AI ever in their keynote. So does this kind of get them out of the mud in terms of their valuation, or does it have to be more than just kind of AI announcements?
The problem with Apple is that it's very difficult for them to differentiate themselves clearly in an area where every single thing that they sell they have tons of competition. They're not, unlike NVIDIA, which has basically no competition, very, very weak competition for chips manufacturing, and almost no competition for the grand vision of physical AI. Apple has, Chinese and Korean companies can make smartphones that are almost as good, at least as good, maybe better than Apple's devices. They can do it for cheaper. There's not, the number of people who are willing to spend $1,200, $1,300 on a phone is limited. The number of people who are going to spend, thousands of dollars for a Vision Pro is limited. So AI is not going to move the needle for them. In fact, basically what they're basically, if you think of the major companies that are pushing AI, let's call it 10 companies, and Apple is the 11th company. A big push in AI on the iPhone is going to move them into, the 7th place for AI companies. They're not going to do a big, huge, they're not going to roll out, they're not going to say, okay, we're getting rid of iOS and we're just going to have an AI operating system. Nothing of the sort is going to happen. There's rumors that they're making a deal with OpenAI, that Siri will have some OpenAI stuff in there. Of course, Apple has been using AI, different kinds of AI for different things. I'm wearing Apple AirPods right now. These use AI, for example.
I'm losing you a little bit.
They've always been very good at and subtle that slightly improve the user experience. So for them, it feels to me a little desperate. I hate to say that about a great company like Apple, but to be just partnering with OpenAI when they themselves have been working on what they called, what we in the press basically have called Apple GPT. Their own AI models. So it's not really clear what they can offer other than that they already have AI processing power in iPhones. And so the best thing they can offer is, instead of large language models, small language models that run entirely in the smartphone. So if they can offer the privacy aspect, if they can offer your own private AI, which is not hitting a cloud server, then that does two things for them. One, it lets them virtue signal about privacy, and also actually provide privacy. And security. Some of the things they do, in fact, do really enhance end user security. So virtually no cost of the user. But it also gives you a reason to buy more expensive phones, because you're going to want a more powerful processor if AI is running directly from the phone. All
right, I'm going to get to your smartphone column in a second, but I wanted to ask as well as, should we be paying attention to Intel and AMD and their announcement? Will there be a chip war? Will you start seeing maybe some price considerations, or will it be something where if a company can't wait for an NVIDIA chip, then they're like, okay, well, maybe we'll consider some of these other companies? Or is it just like they're so far ahead that it won't even matter whatever these other companies are doing?
No, I think what they're doing is actually worth paying attention to, and it's highly valuable. You have to understand that basically what NVIDIA does is it provides the processors, former GPUs that they're pivoting into AI processors, which are used for training AI, and then they're used for delivering AI. So when you go to ChatGPT and you ask a question, it's hitting NVIDIA chips somewhere, and it's doing that processing. We're entering a world where there are already thousands of LLMs out there, and there will soon be many tens of thousands of individual LLMs. There'll be small language models. There'll be AI running everywhere on everything. And so we NVIDIA can't supply all of the processors for everything that's going to have AI. And so I think Intel and AMD are, they're serious contenders for not leadership, but they're going to find a lot of customers, I guess is the way to put that, because there's going to be such a need for that kind of processing everywhere. Right.
Okay, and I want to move into our next topic around, at the same time while all this hype is going on around NVIDIA, Intel, and AMD and all these new chips, at the same time we're starting to see some articles out there about the AI bubble and continued concerns around AI. This week, Christopher Mims, a Wall Street Journal columnist, wrote that, quote, significant disappointment may be on the horizon in terms of AI, in terms of what it can do and the returns it will generate for investors. This is another quote. The rate of improvement for AIs is slowing, and there appears to be fewer applications than originally imagined for even the most capable of them. It is wildly expensive to build and run AI. New competing AI models are popping up constantly, but it takes a long time for them to have a meaningful impact on how most people actually work. Now, obviously, since this came out in November 2022 with generative AI, there's been stories. We've done episodes here too about whether this AI bubble is about to burst, and there's, it goes in cycles too with the media, where it's like hype, and then down, and then like, okay, we got to burst the bubble. And so, take this with a grain of salt. But then, when you combine, again, the Wall Street Journal and this columnist who's written about AI for a long time, he does raise some interesting points about, there's a lot of use cases where people just aren't using it yet. Business users, general business knowledge workers, are not paying for Copilot, or they're not embracing all of the hype that a lot of these companies are putting out there. I'm a big supporter of a lot of these tools, but even I don't even go on ChatGPT every day. I have to tell myself, oh yeah, let's try to draw another picture or do another music song or something goofy, but it's not being integrated into my work as much as Google and Microsoft want me to do this. So, so we're going to see this, and in the business world, I see a lot of these things happening where at some point, all of the money that's getting invested by business end users is the accountants at some point are gonna go, where's the ROI? And if they can't prove an ROI on some of these projects that they're doing, you're gonna see interest go away, or until the next big shiny thing happens. So, where are we in terms of, is it our fault for hyping this up too much? Or, where's the middle ground where AI currently is?
Yeah, I tend to think that from a financial point of view, there's definitely a bubble that will definitely burst. But let's look at what that means. When people talk about bubbles bursting, there's sort of a reflexive notion that, let's say the AI bubble bursts and then all the companies go out of business and now we don't have AI anymore. Nothing of the sort will ever happen. If you look at the .com bubble burst of 1999, 2000, it was really about e-commerce. So the idea of shopping online and buying things online was kind of reaching a level of hype that was hitherto unimaginable at that time, and it was just a huge craze where all the venture funding just went into e-commerce plays. Okay, and we lost a lot of good sites. We lost pets.com, and we lost whatever that grocery, the grocery, deliver your groceries and all that stuff. But guess what? Amazon survived, and we still buy everything online. Like, e-commerce is vastly larger now than it was at the height of the e-commerce hype and bubble. Yeah. So bubbles burst, but that doesn't mean anything goes away. NVIDIA is not going anywhere. AMD, all these companies, OpenAI isn't going anywhere. Facebook and Google are not going to stop development in AI. What's going to happen is there'll be a correction. Right now, it's really a bad situation, because if you're have a startup, if you're an entrepreneur and you have a non-AI company, forget about it. You're not going to get any funding. You have to slap the AI label on everything, and everybody does that. All you have to do is appoint your product at an API that's owned by OpenAI or some other company, and then you can slap AI on it, and you might get funding. So that the sort of AI washing, the whole kind of hype, we've seen it with other things in the past. Yeah. Now we're seeing it with AI. All that stuff is going to be, the craze aspect of it, I think is going to go away. And then once it's boring and sort of ubiquitous, then we'll know it's really working and it's really doing us some good. Because it's not, this whole idea that it's a kind of a search engine or a chatbot, that's not a particularly, like you say, it's like, who even thinks to go and, ask, have a conversation with ChatGPT? Yeah. But the way it's going to help in science, in education, and in medicine, software development is going to have a huge boon. In all kinds of business software, it's going to be baked in to good effect and to bad effect. Hopefully, the bad companies will go away, the good ones will rise and become more dominant. But there's so many things that AI can improve, and the really exciting thing about AI has nothing do with chatbots.
Okay. Yeah.
If you're less concerned about enterprise, is the super knowledgeable personal assistant. And my friend Steve Gibson, who has a podcast called Security Now, has a really interesting theory that once you hear it, you think, yeah, that's got to be it. So if Microsoft announced their Copilot PCs, right, which essentially what these devices do is they take a snapshot of your screen every few seconds.
Right. Yeah. The recall feature. Yeah.
And they save that data in AI. So they don't actually take screenshots, but they're sort of like the most likely scenario is that they're intercepting the information going to the graphics processor, and then they're saving that in very small form, just a few K. It's like a tiny little thing. So they're able to save everything you see and everything you do on your laptop until the end of time. And then why are they doing this? And they're pushing it as default, so it's very irresponsible from a security perspective. But why would Microsoft do this? And Gibson's conclusion is that they want to build a super assistant that knows everything about what you do with your computer, with your PC. And could you imagine such a thing? So this thing would be like a Siri-like thing, except it knows exactly what you were thinking about when you were taking notes in a meeting, exactly who you interacted with 6 months ago in a chat session. It knows everything about you, and this would be an incredibly powerful assistant. These assistants are moving to other devices like smart glasses, augmented reality glasses, what I like to call AI glasses.
Yeah.
And so it's only a matter of months where a very large number of people, and only a matter of years before just about everybody is walking around talking to their glasses or getting information from their glasses, and AI is going to do most of the heavy lifting, but interpreting what you see, what you hear, and then turning that into some valuable input, suggestions, advice, directions, whatever.
You let us right into Mike. You let us right into the next topic, which is the article that you wrote for Computer World, which was how AI was going to kill the smartphone. I don't know, Chris, if you want to bring that up. Yeah. So this was an article you wrote this week or last week on Computer World. And basically, it's a great piece where you're talking about how smartphone makers could be in trouble if they don't adopt this idea of AI will be software, and the smartphone as we know it may go away into these AI glasses. So continue discussing why you think this will happen, because it does feel this is not going to happen immediately. This is now,
right.
What are you talking, 5-10 years that this movement may happen?
It's hard to say. So first, let's take the 10,000-foot view. Right now, smartphones are the most important device we have. That's most people's main interface to the internet, to each other, et cetera. And it's a really central device in our life. So you can either believe that we'll have smartphones for the next 500 years, or they're about to become obsolete, or somewhere in between. I tend to think that smartphones as the central device for most people has, like you say, 5-10 years globally, and probably 3 to 5 years for people like you and me who are tech enthusiasts and so on. So here's what I think is going to happen. The value proposition of an AI phone, and for that matter, an AI laptop, but let's talk about the AI phones, is that AI enables you to move beyond apps, right? So if you want to take a picture, you want to take a selfie at a concert with an iPhone, you launch an app, you tap on an app and it loads, and then you sort of like focus it or whatever you're going to do, and you hold it up and you take a picture. AI can do that very easily. You can just say, hey, take a picture of me, and it'll just, no app, right? You can imagine an AI operating system that does all the things that apps do without apps. It just using AI. Okay, so once you get to that singularity, you're going to have high-end companies like Apple, like Samsung, and others who are going to want to put it all on the phone. That's going to make the phone expensive. It's going to make the phone pretty warm, actually, from all the processing, and it's going to be expensive. And that's what those kinds of companies are going to want to do. But it's also an opportunity for budget phone makers to say, hey, we're going to develop an AI operating system. It's going to do AI in the cloud, so it's going to hit a cloud AI server, and the phone could cost $200 or $150. because everything's happening in the cloud. It's essentially like a Chromebook or something, but on a phone. And so I think the phone market will sort of fork in that direction with more expensive, more secure, more powerful devices, and much less expensive, less secure, less powerful devices working with AI in the cloud. And then once you get to that point, you realize that, how do you upgrade a phone like that? Well, you just get the new software, or it just upgrades itself because the cloud service has been improved, because now it's ChatGPT 12.5 or whatever it's going to be in the future, right? So that sort of like just deflates the motivation to get a new physical phone, right? And then I'm very sure that we are going to start using other devices, especially smart glasses. So the smart glasses connect to the phone, like Ray-Ban Meta glasses, like any number of others. Light engines will put screens in front of our eyes. The speakers will whisper in our ears. We'll talk to it. It will see what we see through its camera, and it will use AI to interpret the world, give us information using multimodal AI with video, which is what Ray-Ban Meta cannot do right now. But it'll just take in the visual spectrum of what you see, and you'll be able to say, hey, what was the name of that store 10 minutes ago when here's the name of the store.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. You have instant recall through these phones. And at that point, the way to improve the experience is to upgrade the glasses, not the phone.
Yeah.
The phone now just becomes a server in your pocket. And with the inexorable miniaturization of electronics, it's only a matter of time before you don't need the phone at all. It's all in the glasses.
Isn't this what the goal of that R1 Rabbit device, or the what was the name of the other one? The Pin. What was that called?
Humane.
Yes. The Humane Pin or something. Yeah. Like that was Humane, the idea. And both of those, to be honest, probably failed miserably. I think that they might still be around, but nobody, again, everybody kept thinking that AI would just be an app on your phone. And I like how you're thinking that it'll be integrated into the operating system where we won't need these apps and you can just talk to it. Voice and voice recognition is certainly the main driver of that. Like, again, if I'm at a concert and I'm wearing glasses and I try to tell my glasses to take a picture of me, it might not hear me because of the noise of the concert. So right. And again, that's why I feel like this is probably way down the road versus happening next week or next year. There are other glasses, and in fact, Ray-Ban Meta glasses, you can also take a picture by just pressing the button. And so there are other interfaces that let you deal with loud environments. But the reason the Humane Pin and the Rabbit device failed, I think one of the main reasons is that they weren't glasses. I mean, a pin, who pins electronics to their clothing? They were demanding a radically new behavior. Yeah. What about my down jacket? I'm going to put a pin through my down jacket? Yeah, I don't think so. And then the Rabbit thing was just a phone that didn't do most of the things that a phone could do. Yeah. Essentially. And so who wants that? That's, you're going to carry a phone and that thing? Like, why? Why would you do that? Glasses are amazing for multimodal AI because they can put a speaker within an inch of your ears, they can put a microphone within 4 inches of your mouth, and they can put a screen right over your eyes, right? Hands-free, you can interact with AI, and it can show you things on a much bigger screen, psychologically bigger screen than a smartphone can. And so there is no device in the short term that can compete with glasses for interacting with multimodal AI. So, is it going to be the Apples and the Metas of the world that start developing these? As much as
but it's up to them. Like Facebook and Meta worked with Luxottica to develop the Ray-Ban Meta glasses. There are other companies that essentially just go to major sunglasses brands and say, you know what, we'll do the temple part, you do the front, and you do the styling. We'll do a temple, and the temple will have the batteries, the antennas, all the things you need. So there are multiple ways to do it. I think I think Apple might come out with really great AI glasses at some point in the future. I'm sure, like everything else, they're going to be pretty far behind, and they'll basically wait till the market is really ready for it,
Yeah.
like really ripe for it. And that means there'll be other competitors on the market already with things like that. But if you look at the progress of Ray-Ban Metas, they used to be called something else. I don't remember the previous name, but the progression from glasses nobody wanted to glasses that, hey, these sound really good, and these are really fantastic, to, you know, the Meta AI agent is pretty good, to now they have multimodal AI. Well, that you can snap a picture and they tell you what it sees.
Yeah. All I can imagine is the first car accident that happens when someone's driving with these things. Yeah. So, all right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, but we'll get to a point where the glasses will prevent you from getting an accident, and that will be powerful too. So,
I just want my self-driving car, Mike. That's
yes, exactly.
You know, at some point, or the flying car. It was promised me, 40 years ago. All right, I want to jump because we are talking about Meta, and this is a weird story. Came out late last week. Was Meta and its flagship app Facebook is attracting its highest number of young adults in 3 years as it tries to shake the platform's reputation as the bastion of an older generation. More than 40 million U.S. and Canadian adults aged 18 to 29 now check Facebook daily. And basically, Mark Zuckerberg, who turned 40 last month, marked its 20th anniversary this year. The growth reflects the company's efforts in the last few years to recapture the attention of young adults who have been flocking to short video app TikTok, which is owned by China's ByteDance. And at a New York event aimed at highlighting how young people use the app, the head of Facebook, his name is Tom Allison, said the anniversary prompted executives to realize that Facebook needed to evolve to stay relevant for the next generation. And this is a quote: "Who is Facebook for? Is it for my parents?" Citing questions that he said that he had heard from young adults. This always makes me feel of like, that episode or that meme where it's Steve Buscemi and he's dressed up like, "Hey, hello, fellow kids, and hang out with me." And basically, Facebook is probably my generation and the older generation above me. We've been the ones who use Facebook all the time. The most active people I see on Facebook are all, doing goofy posts and pictures of their kids, pictures of events in their life, all that other garbage that Facebook is doing to try to get ads. And I mean, that irritates me to no end. I just don't, I think most generations understand the cynicism when a company tries to do this. But do you think that this will bring people back to the platform? I mean, they've already got Instagram. So I don't understand why they're doing this other than to just try to get more active users and so that they can throw ads in their face.
Right. I mean, I understand they want to kind of future-proof their social network a little bit. And part of what they're doing, so they're essentially doing two things to attract younger people. One is that they're being TikTok, essentially. And so it's really a war between Facebook's Reels or whatever they call it, the little quick videos.
Yeah, Reels.
Their algorithm to show you what you want, and TikTok's algorithm to show you what you want. Facebook's probably still isn't nearly as powerful as TikTok's. But unlike TikTok, Facebook is more of a social network. And what I mean by that is that the way most people use TikTok is there's no loyalty. It's not really about following specific people for the most part. You hit that algorithm and you start flipping. Right, and whoever the algorithm is showing you, that's what you're paying attention to.
Yeah.
Whereas Facebook is kind of a little both. So you get the flip through the quick video entertainment thing, but also you're actually following people that you know, right? So it's and you're really kind of you're confronted with the posts of people that you already know. That might be family members, it might be friends, it might be whomever, it might be celebrities or whatever. The other thing they're doing is they're integrating with Instagram. So, some people want to follow their friends who are posting things on Instagram or other people that are posting on Instagram, and they want the TikTok-like thing. Facebook is a place where you can get basically both Instagram and TikTok in one place.
Yeah.
And so
I've been finding on my Facebook,
that's what they're doing.
Yeah, on my Facebook feed, I find that more people, when I post a photo and talk about something or I put a little video up, I get more engagement and interaction on Instagram because it then copies over from Facebook over to Instagram. And then I get more discussions and more likes and things like that. mainly from my Instagram feed because I probably have younger people that follow me on that. Usually it's people that are following me are either my kids or my the friends of my kids. And then I get more interaction from them than I do with, the people that I have on Facebook, and I get a couple of comments, but that's about it.
Yeah. I mean, and Facebook has always been pretty good with dark patterns, especially the use of color. So that if you see red anywhere on a Facebook thing, that means there's a thing screaming at you saying there's something waiting for you on the other side of this button or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they're also bringing, they also tell you on Instagram that you have, 12 messages or 12 posts or 12 somethings, notifications on Threads. And so this whole, the whole Threads, Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp industrial complex that they have going on is really, if they want to channel people who are using one of those or two of those or three of those or all four of those, they can do it. They got a bunch of ways to sort of direct people to whichever service they think will really grab people and keep them there. But you think about, Americans are weird because we do things differently than everyone else. Like, for example, we don't really use WhatsApp, or people do use WhatsApp more now than they used to. But man, I live abroad most of the time. Right now I'm in Sicily. Everybody in Europe uses WhatsApp. Everybody in Europe, 90% of the people I know in Europe use WhatsApp, they use Instagram, and they use Facebook, and they don't use anything else ever. So
okay.
It's pretty dominant. Meta is super dominant in Latin America as well. So but
so maybe I shouldn't think about this from a U.S. perspective only. That you have to think about.
Well, I mean, we have to do that too because Americans are the biggest and most lucrative market, and we're also tend to be outliers in our social media use. But one way or the other, Facebook has I guess the point is that Facebook has a lot of resources. So the global user base is actually a resource for Americans, even if they don't use some of these other services. The fact that they have Threads and WhatsApp is a great resource for Instagram and Facebook, and vice versa. So it's like they really have I don't want to say it's a monopoly, but they have a really strong position. They have a lot of nets out there to catch you if you happen to be falling through any particular crack somewhere.
Yeah, I also think that they're doing this too because of what's going on with TikTok and the U.S. The ban that's coming, and or may not come. Who knows what's going on there? But I think they're prepping for an idea of like, well, all of these people that are on TikTok might want to go to another place, and they're like, well, hey, we've got all this stuff here on Facebook, and obviously they have Instagram and WhatsApp, and they have those other avenues and Threads. But again, I'm more of a cynic on the whole Threads thing. So you mentioned Instagram, and there was another story this week that is causing me some concern. So Instagram is testing ad breaks that will force you to stop and look at an ad for a period of time before you continue scrolling. Several X and Reddit users reported seeing the feature, and Instagram spokesperson Matthew Tai confirmed to The Verge that ad breaks are being tested, basically saying that they would provide updates should the test result in any formal product changes. Basically, if you're scrolling through your stories and posts, after a certain amount of time, Instagram will prevent them from going further until they looked at an ad. There was a screenshot that basically said Instagram is displaying an ad break icon with a countdown timer that shows how long until you can start scrolling again. And basically, you'll have to either stop or watch the ad or do something else to interact with this advertisement before you continue. But this just seems like insanity to me, only because I've seen how people use Instagram. I know how I use Instagram. You scroll. It's the doom scrolling effect. You scroll, you watch, either you watch or you don't. To insert an ad here, it's like the early days of that YouTube ad skip thing where you couldn't skip out of it. If you give users a choice, they're going to say no a lot of the time. So I don't understand why they're doing this, other than it's just, another potential money grab for Instagram and Facebook, and they're not really caring about the users. Mike, do you have any thoughts on that? Or did we lose them?
Well, it seemed like a sort of a process on all platforms where, for example, Google, a lot of times, I don't run an ad blocker on YouTube, for example. And it used to be that, you see part of an ad, 5 seconds go by, then you skip the ad and go right into your content. That's still the case Sometimes you watch a whole ad here in Europe. Sometimes it's a whole ad, then another whole ad, and then you can watch your content. But they always seem to be pushing how testing how much people will tolerate. And in fact, the tolerance level for advertising keeps going up. Once they get people to accept a certain level of intrusive advertising, they think, well, maybe we can nudge that up a little bit. And I think Instagram is trying to do that. It's kind of an odd time to do it because the competition from TikTok must be pretty intense. But I think that essentially what they want to do, and again, they were testing this, they haven't rolled it out for real, but the whole point of the test is not to see if the tech works, is to see if the users will accept it.
Yeah.
And if they do, well, ka-ching, it's like more money from advertising. And by the way, the ad market is tough out there for anybody trying to sell ads, anybody trying to sell ad space on social platforms. And so, I think it's probably in part a response to the difficulties in actually coming up with revenue from the advertising business.
Yeah. So, gut feeling, do you think that they'll do this at some point, or are they just going to, we're willing to take a 1%, 5% drop in our user base because we can make that up with the sales of all of these types of ads versus just having a regular sponsored post or things like that?
No, I think they'll do it. And the thing that I have to say about Instagram is that anecdotally, my own experience of Instagram is they do contextual advertising better than anyone. I scroll, the current advertising scheme where you sort of like go through some posts, and 50% of the time, the thing they're advertising is something I really want. There's the thumbs up.
Yeah.
It's almost like sometimes it's like, wow, hey, how do they know that's exactly what I wanted? They do that much better than even other meta platforms. And so if they are interrupting you with highly contextualized advertising, things you really like, a lot of people say, for example, follow a lot of fashion icons or the fashion industry on Instagram. If they're showing you clothing that you really love, or so, accessories or whatever, a lot of people, some will reject it, but some may welcome those intrusions because it'll feel like the kind of content they really want.
Yeah. I'm probably more of a crank than some tech optimists out there. I like my user experience being a good user experience rather than having things thrown in my face with advertising. So
then what are you doing on Instagram?
I know. Again, I've accepted and again, maybe this is again an example of me accepting the fact that they've tried this thing where they throw in a sponsored post. I usually skip it, but again, it's that 1 to 2 seconds where it hit my eyeballs. And that was acceptable at one point rather than just, again, I usually tells myself maybe I just need to get off this platform, just stop, put the phone down and go do something else.
Let me ask you something quick as a bit of an aside, but which social network or networks do you prefer? Do you wish everybody you knew was on so you didn't have to go anywhere else?
That's a really good one. That's a good question. How boring do I sound if I say LinkedIn at the moment? Like that's the least bothersome one for me at this point, because they do have a direction of this is supposed to be business type of social interaction. I like Facebook for just talking, seeing what's going on with my friends and family. I don't like all of the other BS that gets put in there, whether it's look at all these other groups. And I've got friends that have fallen into that trap of oh yeah, we're going to share all these things from other pages that have nothing to do with my interests. And again, I'm not looking for Facebook to find articles around classic television, which I get all the time because I've watched shows, and I don't know. Maybe YouTube. Maybe YouTube is the closest one that I wish everyone was on, because this is where the show is.
Yeah. It's nice to have the social component underneath your actual show. So
yeah, maybe they should bring back Google Plus and or MySpace should come back.
Could you imagine Google Plus with AI?
Oh boy, yeah. Okay, that's terrifying. Hey, Mike, we're at the end of the show. We did have a couple of technical glitches. We'll hopefully work on that for the next couple of episodes. So again, thanks for joining us from Sicily, and we'll get into the whole digital nomad thing next week with you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me, Keith.
All right. That's all the time we have for today's episode. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and add any comments that you have below. Join us every week for new episodes of Today in Tech. I'm Keith Shaw. Thanks for watching.